Is it live? That was a little loud. Yeah, would you like me to check? All right. You got a good shot? All right. Good evening. Obviously, we have handouts here. I want to take just a few moments for those of you watching live and for those of you here live. Just take a few moments for us to get centered and balanced in spirit. I was doing it earlier before everyone arrived, but it's definitely the time where we just take a few deep breaths and just kind of calm and slow everything down. So as we get centered and poised within spirit, I would like to start off with my morning affirmation. There is nothing to hate. I forgive everyone and everything. I am friends with everyone and everything. And I love everyone and everything. As we breathe this, as we think this, as we speak this, we are this. And so it's a beautiful way for us to begin and to sterilize our atmosphere and our consciousness and our awareness and our experience. So today we are talking about unity and concentration. And this is our 6th lesson. So for those of you here who have been here every time, you guys are awesome. For those of you watching online, you're awesome as well. And we're crossing a threshold here with 6. There are 12 lessons, and this is the 6th one. And so this is the time where we are, as we cross this path, as we cross this marker into this next lesson. You know, we're doing a great work. We're doing a great work within ourselves, and doing that great work within us is doing a great work around us and surrounding us. So it becomes the internal work, becomes the external visioning and seeing. And so this is a powerful lesson that we're going to go over. And we've been calling them lessons, but they're also powers. In fact, they are powers that we have to utilize. Something that I may not have shared with you before is that, you know, with Jesus Christ being the example who walked this plane of existence, he had 12 disciples. Those are also 12 powers. His disciples are also powers. And 12 lessons are also powers and tools, as we said before, spiritual tools that we use for our daily lives. So I wanted to share that with you guys, that these are in fact gifts as well, right? So we can use all these different labels or names. They are powers, they are gifts, and we demonstrate them. And so today we are imparting and revealing within ourselves this great gift of unity and what that means, that perception of unity and concentration, because I'm sure we have an idea of concentration. So like always, and I'm going to make it brief and sweet for those who are watching online, I like to cover the previous lessons. And we're going to do them slightly different today, but in a nutshell, they are these lessons. Lesson 1 being that God, the all, that we call the all, Mother, Father, Spirit Supreme, omnipresent deity, is good. And that good is what we're all seeking. We can call it, which some of us for some reason don't seem to do this, but I'm going to share one statement. What are we all looking for? We've said it before: happiness, satisfaction. We're seeking our good. But do we come unto ourselves in this understanding and unto God and actually make the statement, I am seeking unlimited supply. I am seeking unlimited, limitless sustainability in my life, my home, in my body, in my mind, and in my world. And we can make that claim and make sure we're claiming it, because that is our good. If we only got half of what we needed, would that be good? No. So we are looking for and claiming unlimited, limitless good for ourselves and our neighbors. And to me, that's an important key, so that we balance ourselves and don't get caught up into the material, but in fact are speaking spiritual, that I am seeking my good. Life is good. There are many people who could argue and say, my life is not good. But that argument is only from their personal experience. So let it be known that, in fact, all life is good. And when we consider that with intellect and reason, we know that life itself is good. And my life is my good. And my good is my God. This is the foundation that we are really stepping into and speaking and knowing that my good is my God. And it has got many names: prosperity, health, power, wisdom, faith, love. And we can go on and on. But I make it clear that we are all seeking our good. And our good is our God. Number 2, in a nutshell, lesson 2, there is no evil force. There is no opposition to my God. There is no opposition to God, true God, in material conditions of any kind. There is no evil force. There is nothing to fear. And so we are fearless in that truth. Now, whether you're there now or not, this is what lesson 2 takes us, that next step up. Lesson 3, God is intelligence. Your intelligence right now, your mind, your thinking capabilities, anything that you can do is your intelligence, is your wisdom, is God with you. If you have life, God is with you. If you have intelligence, God is with you now. See, we overlook these things. Why? Because they're with us, within us. We're using them, we're walking in them, we're talking in them, and we overlook them sometimes as a realization, as a fact that God is with us in our intelligence. Our words are powerful, and we create our world and experience. We think something. Everything from the seat you're sitting in, from the chair you're sitting in, to the car you drove in, to the kitchen utensils, to anything you can think of was a thought. And that thought became a thing. And so all things manifest, all thought forms, all thoughts form things. And this is true. This is so true. Even using reason, using intellect, every thought becomes a thing. And so our thoughts and our emotions and our words create our reality. And this really is lesson 3. So we watch our thoughts, we watch our emotions, and we watch our words. And the word is creative. So our word is creative power. And let us know that it's a power so that we are humble and meek in using that power for the good of us and the good of our neighbor. Lesson 4 is faith. And God is faith. We already have it. You're operating in it. Once again, we're not directing our awareness and our experience to seeing it all the time, but it is with us. It is one with us, and it is God, and we are one with God. And so we are the faith of God. Number 5, knowledge and wisdom. Once again, we step up in knowing that our knowledge, our intellectual reasoning and knowledge and intuition, that knowing without knowing and wisdom comes from God and our connectivity to God. And so I get to all of these steps to get to unity and concentration, because unity and concentration, being powers and a lesson unto themselves, it is also all of these previous lessons as well wrapped up. And so we say all is good. So all good is one and the same. In the highest, love, wisdom, health, purity, and every manifestation of good are one in essence and being. And so unity, we know what that word is. If we don't know what that word is, let us look it up. Unity is one with. I am in union with. I am not separate from. I am magnetically, atomically, whatever word you want to use that represents gravity. These words of pulling and connecting and holding. This is unity, and we are in union and in unity with the Creator. And so with the unity, when we say all is good, in our lessons and our stepping up into this understanding, into these revelations, into this knowing that we step into, we come to either questions. We either say, hold up, I'm seeing things different than what we're learning. By my sight, I may be seeing things differently. And this is where this is where in unity, where we must get clarity. And the clarity in unity is, by appearance, it seems that I am separate from you, and that you are separate from me, and that we are separate from each other. And hence, one of the reasons why most of us do this, reach up for God, pray to God, look up, like separate from. But these are appearances, and this is, and the best way to explain it in this teaching is spiritual mind and carnal mind, or mortal mind. And what is that? How do we get clarity of unity from mortal mind or spiritual mind? So for those who have never even heard of that concept or that idea of mortal mind, it is generally, here's a way for distinction between spiritual mind, which is divine consciousness, which is one with God, and mortal mind. Spiritual mind knows, whether through intuition, whether through some knowing. I'll even use the words thoughts and emotions as a way to try to capture the awareness of this. Spiritual mind knows somehow that we are one, that in this great life, although it seems that things are separate and I'm separate, I have this knowing, this urge, this call for oneness in this unity. And spiritual mind sees the similarities, sees the unity, knows that we are all brothers and sisters of the great Creator. Mortal mind sees the differences. It says, look at that person. Look at this, look at that. Oh, they're so this or they're so that. With the separation, once again, with the idea of separation, they're speaking about the appearance, the other person as a separate person, and I say they, us, in our walk, thinking what other people might be thinking about me. That's a separate mortal mind thought. And so to have the distinction within yourself so that you can become aware of your life experience during the day, because we're walking this path, we're growing, we're expanding, we're unfolding. And as we're doing this, you're not expected to do anything on one hand. I want to say you're not expected to do anything, but you are here. You're watching, you're here because you, in fact, your soul actually has brought you here, has brought you to this class, this gathering, this spiritual unfolding, because you're ready. That is why we are here, because we're ready for the next step. Our soul has pushed us and pulled us. Call it, the great love within us, calling and yearning for truth, yearning for knowing of the truth, life purpose. Who am I? Why am I? All of these things are yearning, and we've actually stepped out into the realm of knowledge and of truth. And so, by doing that, we know, and you can know if you didn't know, that your soul, which is the real you, is ready for you and expects you to start stepping up your realization, because that's what we're doing, coming to the realization of our unity with divinity. That there is a mortal man, and when I say man, I mean man, woman, child, and everything. So anyone who's watching, even when I say he or she, forget those labels. We're using those for the point of discussion and speaking in the English language. But we are transcending that, and we are ready. We are ready to take the next steps in our spiritual unfolding. And a part of that, the name of this class is The Art of Spiritual Living and Healing. So why are we here? It is for knowledge, truth, growing closer to that which we call God, but also, I hope, and if it isn't, but I believe it is, if we're here, it is for healing. The healing within ourselves and the healing of our world. And it is demonstratable. And so we are expected to be in this awareness and grow into it. Not that we need to hold on to the letters of anything, but that we are in this knowing and unfolding that the healing is happening. And so does anyone have any questions in regards to this idea that is being shared about mortal mind and spiritual mind? And if anyone has questions online, ask them. I'm right now not able to respond live and in person, but feel free to post them and we will respond. And you guys don't have to have any questions.
We want to unify the spiritual mind with the mortal mind. We want to unify those, right? Make them consistent.
Yes. And in fact, the mortal mind has no reality. Because there is only God And there is only God's mind and consciousness. We'll use those words. There is only God, only God's substance, only God's mind. In fact, and some may not be ready for that because they feel like, whoa, hold on now. I'm all about the two becoming one. And yes, this is a step. But the truth is you all are already the spiritual mind. But in our walk, depending on where we are, it's like the two becoming one, but the reality is there is only the one. And so we step into the reality of the oneness of divine mind. And so we begin to care more about our brothers and sisters. We begin to love more, actually opening up, right? Because a lot of us as well, in that mortal mind position, that ego, that selfishness, we protect our heart. We protect our feelings. We say we're protecting ourselves. But really in this spiritual mind place where we open up, we break down the walls, we break down the barriers that we're trying to protect ourselves and know that we have limitless defense in the all good. And so when we have unlimited support and defense in all things, we don't have to have imaginary barriers or what we believed were barriers to stop me from loving you more or caring about you more. And so it's stepping into that oneness of grace. Spiritual mind is grace, right? That's when we're looking at, and here another idea to have is that when we're looking at people, we call them different walks of life, but here we know, in fact, we're all one, that God dwelleth in all in all. So even someone who, is everyone, let's put it this way, everyone is seeking their good. Everyone. Even the person that we just saw on the news who just robbed a grocery store, right? In fact, they were seeking their good. They were seeking supply. They're seeking God. They may not even know it because God gives all of those things. So this is one of those things where because we've been so hypnotized or programmed or trained, whatever word that we want to tell ourselves about how we've been visioning and seeing people, this is a part of the waking up. That everyone here is seeking their good and seeking their God. They've just mislabeled and believing that the things are the good and not knowing that focusing on God, the good, gives all of those things. Right? They say seek the kingdom of God first and all of those things shall be added unto you. And so the good is what we're seeking. And I probably went off way too much on a tangent from your comment, but the work is the two becoming one. The work is in our step, depending on where we are, of rising above that thought of mortal mind into the oneness. And we still have our individual identity. This is something that a lot of folks, grapple with just in learning of the teaching before practicing the teaching. Is a thought of, once again, I kind of like myself. I'm kind of happy, maybe even with some things. But we are seeking ultimate happiness, ultimate satisfaction. And we're able to prove it, actually. If we will wield these powers, we will prove it in our own lives. We don't even have to go tell our neighbors or our friends nothing about what we've learned. I don't know if I said this to you, but it's going to happen to you if it hasn't already happened, but it will happen. If you're holding these lessons, these truths in your consciousness, then people will come to you, whether they know it or not, and they will ask you, What do you've got? I want some. And that's your opportunity to share. A lot of us gather some of this wisdom, and we instantly want to start sharing with everyone. But if they're not asking, if they're not coming to you and all of a sudden started having a discussion about these things, right? Then it's not necessarily time for you to share with them. But these truths are working right now in us. And then as they work in us, they work externally to us. I'm going to read this about spiritual and carnal mind, and I may have already covered it, but I'm going to read Annie. I like to honor her. The spiritual mind is ever uniting. It seeks God in everybody and everything and makes the point of oneness with all. Whenever there is a dislike or inharmony, its source can be found in the carnal mind. The carnal always detects differences while the spiritual notes similarities. The tendency of the human intellect is to differentiate. And we spoke about intellect and intuition and wisdom. So it's important that we have a balance, and we are the ones who do the balancing, right? As intellect comes in, intellect is good, but we must balance it. And who's the balancer? See, intellect, again, and that's why I like to set them up as objects separate from us for the purpose of differentiating, but not in a mortal mind sense, but just in the sense of knowing that the intellect is not the authority. You wield your power of intellect. You use your power of reason, the true you, the soul you, the mind you, because you are mind. That's another thing, because it's that transcending into knowing that you are not this body, that you are the mind, and this body is your vehicle for this realm. And is it not true, if you were to ponder right now, all is happening in your mental state. All is happening in the mind. Whether eyes opened or eyes closed, we are mental beings like our Father. We really are. So religion. Many hear the word religion. They prefer to hear spirituality. But, as truth students, we know not to get caught up anymore on words. And once again, because we're no longer caught up in what someone else said or someone else did, and they, used to make me feel this way or make me feel that way when they said that word religion or Christianity or Jesus Christ or this. We rise above that and know that we are in control of how we feel, of what we think, and how we use our powers in those areas. And so the purpose of religion is to unite God and man. And that is the true religion, which breaks down the barriers between man and his fellow beings and brings to him consciousness of eternal union between the Heavenly Father and his child. It is truth that forms the universal brotherhood and sisterhood by showing we are all one body and one spirit. So this teaching as well really does say, because God is the one life. God is the one mind and one body. And we within God now, here and now, such a realization, such a mind-blowing idea, statement, fact, realization that right here, right now, I am within God. For me, a majority of my younger life, even being so spiritually connected, the ideas that were taught was that God created, and God created this earth and stuff separate from himself. He's outside of it, has not to say he has nothing to do with it, but he's outside of it, totally like this separate object, like made from something separate. But when we come into the truth that all that is God and God's substance, God made everything from and within himself. There's nothing outside of God. What a concept. There is no material outside of God, separate from God. All is God within God, and that is us. And so God, being divine mind, has ideated us, imaged us, imagined each one of us within his mind. But even using those words is so limited because of our normal understanding of this daily walking, waking life, that we believe is so finite, that even using the term, I can get there, and I've gotten there, and to me, wham, I get it, and I'm sure you do too. And for those who are just hearing it, this is an amazing revelation for yourself, that I am within and one with. So I'm not just within, like I'm a separate thing inside of something. We are in fact one with, made of God, as God, same mind, substance, particles. You call it what you want, but there is only one. And so that in itself is, we'll call it mind-blowing. We'll call it amazing, mystical, magical, phenomenal. And so religion is really meant to reunite. And it's not that we were ever separate. It's just that we have believed we were separate. We were told we were separate. I can only speak from my experience, but I definitely was told that I was separate from God. I was told that I was a sinner. I was this. I needed to, believe in Jesus Christ and I would be saved. But the truth is so much deeper than that. No, I was never born of sin. That's not the truth. I was never separate from God. I am one with God. Jesus Christ is our example. He showed how being in unity with God. Jesus Christ is the outpicturing. He rose. He's the man form who came and said, here is, we'll call it mortal man and divine man, and showed the true unification of that unity of those two becoming one, and revealing the truth about the unity that he wielded health and supply on demand. It's not fantasy, it is reality. And he says that all that he did, we can do and more. What a statement. And so he demonstrated unity. So what we've got within Jesus Christ, first of all, Buddha, we've gone through the sages of the ages, Buddha being a great one. All the Greek philosophers, I dig them all, Pythagoras, Aristotle, Plato, just all of them. And there's so many. The Egyptians, the Dead Sea Scrolls with the Gnostics, and so much of that stuff, but nobody that we've got a written documentation, nobody has demonstrated what Jesus the Christ demonstrated and left a roadmap for us to do the same thing. So here's the key, that we have a path to follow, an ABC to follow on this path that really reveals unto us how to do the things that Jesus the Christ did. And I guess I'm jumping too far in a way, because we're about to get to, actually, I guess not. We've kind of merged into the Jesus Christ heading here that I have, that I wanted to talk about. And I'm going to read this as well. Jesus Christ combined in himself all the steps, the teachings, and the means by which humanity can perfectly reflect God, and by which the real man may be proven identical with its divine source. The Christ is the Lord, the God of the whole earth and Spirit of us all. Jesus was the man in whom was outpictured the true relation between the human ego and the divine. In him was portrayed the crucifixion, the crossing out or canceling of the old man, followed by the vindication and resurrection of the regenerate or new man, which is finally transmuted and absorbed into the original self, God. So he came and demonstrated. The Buddhists have this teaching. It's called the rainbow light body, or the light body. I encourage you to go check it out, because it's exactly what Christ did on the Mount of Transfiguration when he transfigured himself. It's the same thing that we do when we consciously and actively demonstrate our power. And it starts with, remember this, I think this, I speak this, I live this, I am this. And so one of the things today and it's going to get into with concentration, but the demonstration with Christ, matter of fact, let me go back to this here. So this is a scriptural statement. Perfect concentration is having the single eye spoken of by Jesus. If thine eye be single, thy whole body shall be full of light. The one-pointed mind described by Krishna from the Gita, the great souled ones, united to godlike nature, knowing me to be the exhaustless origin of all things. Worship me with mind that turns to nothing else. And that's the Gita. That's the Hindu, the Vedic teachings of the Gita. And what Jesus Christ is saying, we are mind. We are in having thy eye single on divine consciousness, on our mind that is God with us, by actually thinking. It's right there. Thinking, speaking, writing, living these thoughts of power. I say it's super important in your guys' alone time, in your secret place, whether you call it meditation or you call it prayer, that now that you've taken up these steps, you know some of these affirmations that you will make for yourself, but there is also knowing that power is flowing through you and that you focus your mind, concentrating your mind on even your body. Do you want to know how you heal yourself? You first think it. You think of that body part that you think, that you've been thinking you have a problem with, whether it be a knee or a back or a neck or an arm or a finger or a toe, whatever it is. And you start holding within your consciousness, within your mind, and speaking unto your thinking, energy is flowing to that part of your body. That the eternal life force, call it God, call it energy, is flowing through you and focused on that area, and that you are feeding it and regenerating it. Within one, and let me tell you this, if you don't know, but I'm sure you know, because we all know, within one cell within your body, within one cell, and there are so many atoms within your body, within a cell, that there's enough pent up, stored up energy, active energy within one cell that can bring down a 6-story building. That's how much energy is stored in one cell. You have trillions of cells. And so coming into this knowledge, we don't have to do anything, but if we're wanting to, we speak unto ourselves this truth. I have the energy of the cosmos, of the universe flowing in me. And instead of being pushed and pulled and allowing the body and external experiences to tell you what's going on with you, or what we would call little sharp pains or signals, I'll call them signals coming unto you, it is you speak unto that and focus and concentrate your God power, the power that is God, into those areas and regenerate them and replenish them. But if we're not even trying, if we haven't even begun the process to be aware to do that, many people, I've said this before, will go to a gym for even a month to see if there's any change. Do I have a little muscle here? Am I shaping up and looking better? Some will put 6 months. Some will change their diets, their food, what they're eating, to care about their outer appearance. When this teaching and what I'm saying and what we know is it is the internal, it is the mind body, the mind consciousness, the mind that in fact is in control of all of this. And that we should be active in demonstrating this ability. and seeing the effects, and seeing the actual effects from us putting just a little effort. It's mental effort. I'm not asking you to lift a 10-pound dumbbell. You don't need to do push-ups. You don't need to do any of that stuff. But it's exercising of your mind power. And the beautiful thing is as you do that, you are, in fact, it is your consciousness, we'll say mind, that is now pushing that power, that energy, that substance, which is God's substance, into those areas and regenerating. And it's not just with our form, but there's no doubt about it. This class, this lesson is about healing. And I will even say, because I've actually been documenting my own progress, and as I have been pushing forward and actually doing this, actually I'm going to share with you, and some of the other folks, sages of the ages, have also noted this, that you may find some opposition. You know, your body might try to tell you, hold up. And for me, I'll share this with you, as I've been working on this and consciously working on it, all of a sudden on my feet for a few months, I was starting to get, I would call a rash. And I'm going, I don't believe in this, should be gone. You know, what is this? And as I'm practicing, some things start bubbling up. Well, so don't be surprised when you work on this that you get a little opposition from your mortal mind, from your physical vehicle, which is your body. But stay faithful, stay true, keep pushing through, meaning keep doing the work, the mental work, and it will go away. And just as it came and outpictured and showed itself, it was nothing when we stay in this truth of our power, and it goes away, and we cross that path, we get through that threshold, we walk through that door, and it is gone. And so don't be surprised, and not that you need to have that happen to you, you don't. Everyone is different, by the way. But don't let that be the discouragement, is really what I'm trying to say. That's the time, you know, when we should hold on stronger. That's when we should say to ourselves, no, I am one with the Father. And there is no sickness, there is no deterioration within God. And it's about awareness. It's about reminding, because we are our own experience. And I know that my experience is your experience. I know it, whether you tell it to me or not. Because of this unity, because of this oneness. This is what the journey that we go on. And it's all the same journey, no matter who we say is on that journey. You know, that's why the sages of the ages are so cool and so amazing and so wonderful to read and understand. They share with you not only these statements of truth and reality and universal being, and especially Jesus Christ for me, and Buddha too, you know. But Jesus Christ for me is that he shared, right? He shared all of these things that he went through, and it's been documented. But we don't have to do it to ourselves. That's the great thing to know, is that we don't have to crucify ourselves. We do not believe you have to go through pain. You know, that's also the raising up, the transcending, the transfiguration. Most people are focusing on Christ up to the crucifixion, right? You know, a lot of folks, a lot of churches, a lot of places, they'll talk about Jesus Christ did all these things, but then he, you know, from appearance, he died, he hung himself. He didn't hang himself, but he was crucified on a tree. And they stopped there. They stopped there not to move on and go, no, he actually conquered sin, sickness, and death. He transfigured himself and he rose from the dead. And for those who have a problem with that and say, well, that can't be true, it's all a fairy tale. No, he's not the only one, by the way. The Buddhists, the Hindus, all of them have the same truth in their ancient texts, and their sages of the ages teach this. Because others have done it and attained this realization of who and what we are. And so it is happening. and has happened and will continue to happen. They're not broadcasting this on the news. This is not this is not what the daily news is broadcasting. But there is good news happening every day, and you can actually Google search that. You can Google search some good news instead of maybe going to your CNN or Fox News. And you'll see and hear there are miracles happening every day, guys. For real miracles. People regaining their sight, people regaining their hearing, people who couldn't walk are walking. And these sages of the ages, the Rick sisters, Emma Curtis Hopkins, the Fillmores, Jesus Christ, all of them were producing these effects, producing these demonstrations within themselves and others. And we can do it. And we are doing it. And so you can do it, right? You have the powers. We have the gifts. We have unlimited breath. Unlimited. There's no restriction on it. I am limitless intelligence. I am limitless health. Speaking these words, and I want to make sure that I share with you that the I am is important. Unconsciously, we walk around consciously saying, I am sick. I am this, I am that. But this is like a magic word, for a genie. And I'm just giving a demonstration, but I am powerful. I am happy. I am joyful. I am healed. I am loved. These statements of truth are our statements of being. They're our statements of being. And all of these that seem to be separate statements or powers, love and strength and health and prosperity, right? We give them all their different names, but it's all one. It is all one, which is God, which is us. If we all were to close our eyes right now, and you don't have to, but if we all closed our eyes and shut off by appearance temporarily, then where are you and where am I that is separate? Where is the separation? There really isn't any. There is no separation, for we are one, just like a dream. Again, dreams are so powerful. We are dreaming. The dreamer and the dream are one. We are all one within God. We are of God's substance. We are one with God. And even with our wonderful individuality, which God does not take from us, He gave it to us. In this oneness, in God's house, the prodigal son is so beautiful. We all, as prodigal sons and daughters, went on and did all that we could do, but we ran out of resources. We ran out of ways on our own. And coming back into the house of God, the house of our Father, the house of our Creator, knowing that we're really in the house of God. This is when the celebration, the feast, the limitless abundance is realized. I may have shared this dream with you in the past, I may not have, but I had a dream that I was in a long line and people were walking through an open door threshold. So imagine 2 doors. And as I walked through that threshold, following this crowd on this path, the threshold, the door opening got really narrow. So narrow to where I felt like I was, squeezing in. And then I felt like in this dream, and not just felt like I was in the dream, I was fully experiencing this, that I was pushing myself through a narrower and smaller opening. But I got through and I came out into this big opening. And it was like a stadium full of people, just more people than I can say. It was just a vast gathering of souls. And I was standing, I want to say almost like on bleachers, and it was full. And there was a little girl who was like, I was on one level down and she was at the top. And she was just smiling at me, the greatest, beautiful, golden, glistening smile. And she just smiled at me and she just fell backwards and was falling. And I leaned over, I go, no, and I tried to grab her. And I could watch her the whole way as she went down. She was still smiling. And as she landed, it wasn't like a thump or anything. It was like she just and landed on her feet. And looking up to me, said, you can't get hurt in God's house. You can't die in God's house. There's no sickness, there's no pain in God's house, as we looked at each other. And it's impossible for me to impart the feeling, the knowing, the experience. I mean, I'm trying. And hopefully, beyond the words, the Spirit is sending that realization. There's a scripture that says, today, salvation has come unto this house. And that really is us. We are the temple of the living God. We are one with God. We are in God's house already. We simply need to know it. We simply need, if we want to, we realize it. I am within God now. And God is my all. My love, my defense, my supply, my abundance, my housing, my home, my food, my water, my fun, my family, all of these things. God is all of that, and we are in that now. It's only by our looking or not looking that we think it's something different, that we think that we're separate from. But spirit, mind, your true mind, that is you, that is the power that hears, the power that sees, knows this truth. That even in the midst of appearances of things not being cool, all is well. And then the appearances become cool. And everything is just effortless. It doesn't mean you won't go do things, but I mean effortless as in it's no longer a mental strain. It's no longer even a physical strain. You are speaking that power and life unto you and demonstrating it and living it and being it. So I want to make sure that I read some of this concentration, because I do want to make sure that, because I sometimes feel, doesn't mean it's true, that I ramble on or that I shoot from here to there. And I want to once again honor Annie Ricks. For those who are watching online, Annie Ricks and Harriet founded this spiritual center in the 1800s, and it's still here. Concentration is the divine art of centering the mind upon what we please for as long as we please. This power is only attained by making God, spiritual realities, the continual object of our thoughts. Practical spirituality requires complete devotion, entire consecration of all you are and all you have to the cause of manifestation of truth. Concentration is the method by which this is accomplished. Everything that appears to be external to you should suggest to you and to your spirit, or to you, spirit, God, good, heaven, truth. And let me just read this and we're going to talk about it. Learn to translate all of your employments, your instruments, the people you meet, the things you see, into spiritual ideas for which they stand. See, everything that comes into your waking conscious experience, and it could even be said about your subconscious dreaming, but let us stay in the conscious waking. Everyone and everything that appears before you, a person, all human beings, all situations are all symbols for you to see and to work out within your experience. So someone could be walking up to you and they're happy and joyful. There's a symbol of joy. Someone else could be that you could see that comes into your awareness. It doesn't mean they walked right in front of your face, but you saw them. They were in your awareness, your consciousness, your experience. Even as and it happens all the time, I'm sure it does for me, so I know it does for you. We lock eyes with people, even for a second, as we're walking the streets, or we're going somewhere, we're driving somewhere. And as we catch glimpses of those faces or the strongness, we see strength in people. We see joy in people. And so we want to see these symbols. What do they mean in my spiritual mind? Right? Try to separate from what the carnal mind, the mortal mind may be trying to see. And make sure that you, because it is you, the experiencer, who's having the experience, the observer who is watching. I use these words so that you may know that it is the soul, mental, mind, consciousness you that is to recognize these symbols for what they truly are. And so even when you're working, whatever you're doing, if you're sweeping, right? Matter of fact, I'm going to read what Annie says because, once again, I do love it. So you run into a person of joy, another of strength, another of peace, another of prosperity, according to the relationship they are bearing to you at the time you met them or see them. Your employments represent the operations that your spirit is engaged in at the time you are working. If you are sweeping a room, meditate upon the truth that sweeps error from the mental house. So no matter what you're doing in your daily walking conscious state, consciously concentrate and be aware and create the awareness of the kingdom of God at all times. You doing that, the more you do it, the easier it becomes. It may seem to be a work at first, but the more that you practice it, the easier it becomes. Just like anyone taking up playing piano or music, at first they can't even get a chord. They can't get a melody. But is it not true that their devotion to the art brings perfection to their art? For as much concentration and devotion they put towards it, they become masters or not. It depends on what am I giving to it. The mathematician, the babies, when they're taught minuses and pluses in the youth, that to them is the calculus and the, all the other maths. But after they practice, they know them, and it becomes easy for them to multiply and divide. And so what I am saying and what God is saying, what the sages of the ages are saying is, without practice, there'll be no demonstration. But be confident and know that if there's practice, there will be demonstration. And it could just be one, right? We've gone over so far 6. But there can just be one that really resonates with you. Just one of these lessons, honestly, within the 12, may resonate highly with you. And if that's the one that you know and recognize through intuition, through spirit, then that's the one that you can focus on. Because remember, really, all of these 12 are one. All of these powers are one power. Does anyone have any comments or questions? Is this making sense? Is it resonating? Is there any comments? Are there, is there any clarity that we need on any of this practice? And it's okay if we don't.
My feeling is that the practice is what is going to make it resonate.
Yes.
The practice that you believe it is new for me, but I see the logic in it, and it's peaceful. It's good.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
So we all have aches and pains, and here and there, and just, you take 2 Tylenols and it goes away, and it's Band-Aids.
Yes. And they come back.
Yes,
But with this practice,
that's what I mean.
you will find that this practice makes it go away and it stays away.
Because it stays that way.
Yes. Yes.
When you talk about the resistance of the mortal mind, or carnal mind, that may come up, like you say, when you're doing it for yourself. And one of the things that I believe is that you need a guide at that time because you made your choice that this way of living is not working, and you want another way, but your mortal mind has long been telling you, no, there's no other way. This is the reality. And so you need another guide at that time. And maybe that's why we gather together to help each other, to guide each other. But
Yes.
the sages of the ages are the guides that we're following. And you can summon that guide yourself. And the way that I do it is through the word choice. That I know that I have a choice. I could choose things the way they have been, or I could choose the other way. And when I realize that that's really the only choice, it's not the many choices that I could make, like what should I have for breakfast today, and how many sit-ups should I do if I did sit up. All of these things that you make all these choices, and you're looking for an outcome in the life that you call yourself. Those choices are distracting from the choice that is the simple choice that I believe we're talking about tonight, to choose the good. And you might not know what that is, but you know that that's what you want to choose. And once you make that choice, you'll be guided. You'll be guided by the people that you speak with. You'll be guided by the places that you go to look for this good. I think Dan's been talking like the same thing I'm trying to say, when he says that, we have this higher consciousness inside of us that's led us here. And it leads us, when we ask for it, it never comes in and tells us, do this, and you feel as though you're, being made to do something. It's a choice that you make, and it's the only choice you have to make. And I think the words were, when you make the choice of God, all the rest is added to you.
Yes.
How did you say it, Dan?
Yeah, that we seek the kingdom of God first,
Yes.
and all other things are added unto us.
So seeking, well, I changed the word to choice. When we
Yes.
seek or
When we choose, you're correct. Choosing and seeking is a choice. So you are correct. The choice is yours. You know, the prodigal son got to choose to leave.
And I'd like to add also that, you know, there is no wrong choice. If you still feel as though you're making choices that don't work, that's okay.
Yep.
Because what this is about is awakening to the truth that there is nothing to fear. And our life is not this body and this time that we seem to spend. Our life is bigger than that. It's the bigger life of us inside the body of God.
Yes.
That's the eternal life that we're looking to experience. We're looking to have that experience, and we're almost there. That's why we come to listen and talk about it, because we want to make it real, not the reality that we've been living that falls short. Earlier you were talking about how if you only got half of what you needed, that wouldn't be good. You want to have all that you need, and you do have that, but the ego, our mind, our mortal mind, I call it ego as well,
Yes.
will begin to tell us that that's not true. The truth is the pain and the suffering that we see in others. The truth is the pain and suffering that we feel in ourselves. And we can choose to listen to that and continue to have the same experience, or we can choose this new choice of God's kingdom, God's truth, being in the body of God. These are the choice, the thoughts that we choose, and then we grow closer to experiencing that.
Yes. Yes. And we've made that choice. We're here.
Yeah.
We've made that choice. And we practice what Spirit is teaching us, revealing to us, reminding us. And we will demonstrate. We are demonstrating now, right here, right now. God takes no time to work. That is also a false belief. God is here and now, and the work is done. And so we turn to see, to behold, and God wants us to. It's just remembering that it's not me, myself, that I am one with all, even my neighbors, my brothers and sisters. And so as I demand or inherit or know that I deserve unlimited health, unlimited supply, it is not just for the me, it is for the we and that oneness. That it is in fact, so as we are calling upon my universal unlimited supply, we have already, by even making that statement and speaking those words, at least for me here and now, although I share with you reminding yourself about your neighbor, but in that call, into that pulling down, into gaining, having the choice of unlimited supply, that choice of unlimited supply, there's plenty for everyone else. There's unlimited, abundant, this well is eternal and everlasting. And as we draw from it, as we are drawing, as we become consciously awake and draw upon that which is here for us now, it's not like we're taking from someone else. God has got enough for everyone to have it all. There is all for everyone. And yes.
And so we're not demanding of the outside world.
No.
We're not demanding that the rest of the world change for our demand. We're demanding inside of ourselves that we not think of ourselves as this separate, small, needy thing.
Yes. That the Lord is our shepherd and I shall not want. And In fact, yes. So because words and can trigger folks, it's important. And that's why I appreciate everyone jumping in and sharing, because that's what we're doing here. We are spiritually growing and reminding together that this drawing upon us, throwing our bucket into the well of good and drawing it out, we're not taking anything from anyone else. And in fact, as soon as they come to you and ask how you're doing so well, you can share that well of eternity with them and know that nothing shall be taken from you. You know, that it really is eternal, limitless abundance, supply. You know, we use the word supply as this broad term, but God is everywhere, everything. And we have it. And our good, that good is our God right here, right now. I can't say that enough, you know. We usually know right here and right now means right this moment. You know, we choose, we draw, we call. It's drawn unto us, right? Even the realization is like that invisible magnetic drawing unto us, because we have made God first. We have consciously made that choice of good for us. And that good, my good, our good, is our God. How beautiful, how wonderful, how true. So I guess I want to say this. I'll read this. Preach the gospel with your every gesture and glance through right practice of concentration. What is the gospel? Good news. Omnipresent, good, unlimited supply, life, intelligence, substance, provisions, defense, health, wealth, power, strength, kindness, love, grace, wisdom. All of these things are the good, which is my good. In my meaning, everyone is our good, is our God. The human mind, in which every thought is purified and directed with clearness upon the one theme, God, becomes like a clear, calm lake, which reflects perfectly whatever is upon its surface. Then any thought that is held before it can be imaged with the exactness of truth, as one sees oneself in a flawless mirror. There are many methods of practicing spiritual concentration. Some are external and others internal, but all have to their nucleus the idea of God. The sages agree that the easiest and most direct practice is the internal, through governing the thoughts and desires with silent words of spirit. Because we are mind. Again, it's a reminding of the mind. Remind. We are reminding ourselves that we are in control of the thoughts, the emotions, our words, our reality, our experience. And once again, the garden of our mind, but you are the gardener of that mind. And so manifestation. We kind of just covered it, really. It is choosing to reveal unto yourself that which is already provided for you. You know, by the grace of God, we get to see, and I love the sun, you guys hear me talk about it. By the grace of God, we see unlimited light. By appearance, the sun sets. By truth, we know it never sets. Right? By appearance, the sky is blue. But science, in truth, tells us that, in fact, that's an appearance. It is not blue. And so I am thankful for the grace of God, of the appearances actually, of the symbols like the sun, the breath, the air, the life energy, love that is invisible. You know, we can't hold on to love. True love is not holding on to the form or the person. True love radiates and penetrates and has its own binding love that is beyond our hands grasping it. And so these invisible and visible forms, and all these forms come and spring forth from the invisible. Again, our thoughts are manifesting things. And so all of the endless, limitless supply of our health and our wealth and our wellness and our kindness is our conscious choice, our conscious choosing to create that thought and speak those words and live that life. I think this. I speak this. I live this. I am this. This is so true. We've already been doing it. We find ourselves exactly where we've thought, felt, and spoken ourselves to be right here, right now. And the beauty about the knowing of this, that I am the author of my reality, means that I can consciously choose to change it if I want to. I can choose to change it. And it's as simple as a thought. Concentration, imagination, imaging. So the practice. This is the one that Annie does. I actually shared with you another practice earlier. That's when we sit in our alone space, our quiet place, our quiet time, and we concentrate and know. It's even, imagining is a good word, but many folks also, depends on how you relate to the word. Imagination is powerful and creative. Some people think the word imagination is just fiction, but no, we have imaginating powers. And when we know and are aware of that imaginating power, it is right there with the intellect and with intuition and with concentration. And so using our imagination, we concentrate and we picture these things in our minds, these thoughts. And so one of those earlier things is about concentrating the healing energy and life power substance into parts of your body. Speaking, by the way, so thinking, feeling, speaking to your body. It's your vehicle. We should tend to it. We should be kind to it. We should tell it we are thankful, because remember, even in this distinction that we're doing of separating for the purposes of understanding and gleaning, it is all really one. Even these appearances. And we haven't used this word a lot in our gatherings, but illusion, or they call it Maya. But illusion doesn't mean it's not real. What it means is that things are not as they appear to be. So we are the real here and now. We are the real here and now. But we've believed that it was the appearance, that it was the form, right? And it doesn't take away from that. It's still our form. We formed it with our thoughts, with our words, with our imagination, with our concentration. We've done it. And so we can undo it, or we can change it in the twinkling of an eye. We can master that. So let me share with what Annie says. Select a spiritual theme, such as love, peace, purity, or some other name of good. It need not be the same one every day. That's step number 1. Step number 2, mentally repeat it 7 times. And she says to avoid counting, To avoid counting, divide the 7 thus. 3, so say it 3 times, and 1 time, so you're not going 1, blah, 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 2. So you just repeat, I am strength. I am strength. I am strength. And you do that 2 sets of 3 and 1 for your 7th time. And so I wrote them here so you can see them. The theme is a seed, and you plant it in the mental soil of your human thinking by this process of repetition. And that's what we're doing. We're planting the seed. We're making sure it gets deep in the soil by repeating it. I'm not one. Generally, this form here that you see is not one that likes to normally repeat after me type stuff. In groups, even when I go to church, even here, the brothers and sisters may all be saying something. There's nothing wrong with that either, by the way. So I'm not foo-fooing that. I'm just saying I have never been that person. But these things here are for your private alone time, really. I can't stress that enough. I highly encourage you to find 30 minutes in the morning. To start with 30 minutes. Heck, it could be 10 minutes. I think she may recommend 10. I'm going to finish reading this. But I can tell you that when I started this years ago, I couldn't do 2 minutes. I couldn't sit out there for 2 minutes and try to, at first I had many different, even though I've been taught all this stuff and read all this stuff, still getting there to practice it was a little different. And that's why I say for you, maybe you seem to be challenging at first at whatever level, but try your best. Start with 2 minutes, 1 minute, 30 seconds. I don't care what it is. You start somewhere every day. If you can get to 30 minutes a day, trust me, that's even enough. For myself, I happen to probably spend a couple hours now in the morning, so I'll make sure to wake up much earlier than I need to be somewhere and spend my alone time. And that alone time is doing the practice. It's all of these things that we've shared, but it's also that not doing anything and trying to just really sit and listen for Spirit to speak. So try to get that into your life, practice alone time, and speaking these things, because these truths, these seeds need to be planted. Nothing needs to be done, but if you're on the path and want to do it. Let your thoughts go. Let the thought seed send out rootlets into your mind and grow. As long as your mind dwells upon spiritual things, you are in the right meditation, which leads to concentration. The stems, branches, leaves, flowers, and fruit may not resemble the seed, but they are all one, and united by the one life. So are all spiritual thoughts one with each other, because divinity is one. Number 4, but if your vine begins to put out a branch to wander to material things, or to evil, or to unspiritual events and people, or to sleep, these are the branches you cut off instantly by repeating the word which is your theme the 7 times. So if in your practice, right, this is pretty straightforward and clear, that if you start wandering, all of a sudden you're in your spiritual moment, you're practicing, and then all of a sudden you start thinking about, later today I've got it, and you kind of got off path, just recenter yourself, reground yourself, repeat that statement again the 7 times, and magically, and I think Rock said it, that the mind likes to only think about one thing at a time generally. Was that your comment? Yeah. And so it's a great way to bring you right back to being centered in your practice. And number 4, let's see, no, we already did number 4. So branches, evils, sometimes as in, yeah. And then 2, again, letting your mind go, meaning the thoughts, not your mind, but you're letting go of all those thoughts again and holding on just to that one theme. And that daily meditation, that it will set the tone for your day. Are any of you guys already doing that now? Is anyone a little bit? Yeah. It's powerful. Like I said, I'm back there for hours now, and getting called in, breakfast is ready. And I'm like, already? Well, I swear I was just back here. So you can kind of get lost in a good way in that. And there's so much to think about what we're doing and talking about. There's so much to practice and to keep into our consciousness. So we're going to end. Does anyone have any last comments or questions? We'll say a few little statements or comments or a prayer, we'll pray out. But
I think the use of words, just like what you just said, that's very powerful. Once you've made a decision, you go with the words and they help focus you on, keep you on that path.
Yes, thank you. And were you raising your hand?
No, I was just going to say that sometimes to be in the present and feeling more connected with the light, having actual real lights in front of you, candles, is a really great thing, you know, when it's a alone moment with yourself.
Yes.
And being just feeling this connection right there with the light. I do that.
Yeah, no, it absolutely. As a matter of fact, every day, I'll happy to share this with you, and I hope you'll believe it, because it can be unbelievable. But I've got a witness over here that I don't know spies on me sometimes. It's my wife, and amazingly, even on stormy, rainy days, I will go outside. And I even tell God and Mr. Sun, I'm coming out. I would like to see you. So it was pouring rain this morning, nonstop. As soon as I went outside, I actually said to myself, well, and I had this conversation with myself, all right, well, maybe I won't go outside. It's just pouring down rain. And, I say, that's the mortal me speaking, right? But Spirit said, no, going outside and the sun is going to shine for you. Right? As soon as I went outside, rain stopped immediately. I went outside, went to my spot. I fed the little outdoor kitties really quick, and here's Mr. Sun. I start feeling Mr. Sun shining on me. I look up, and just with the greatest smile, I just love it. And I stood there, and I had a good 30 minutes to an hour, not exactly sure because time kind of, and as I was doing my morning thing, I had an opening. The clouds all separated right over my backyard where the sun was a pure, clean shot on me and, the little guys around me. And I sat there while I saw rain falling around and I had sunshine while I was doing my thing with Spirit. And more Spirit shows us those things that, most people even hearing that will say, this guy's just telling stories. I need not tell this story. I only share it with you for hopefully the benefit of just sharing with you. It's those little magical things that, in fact, those little magical things at every moment God is displaying for us, when we're walking and expecting, right? Because I was, Spirit said, expect it, and I expected it, and I walked into it. And it's beautiful. It's, and for me in the sun,
Well, you recognize that a lot of people, that could have happened to them and they didn't recognize it. Same thing happened. They
yes,
didn't recognize it.
right. They didn't even recognize it. And it's a beautiful realization and recognizing even those little things is Spirit communicating with us. It's God working with us and through us. And so it's beautiful. So we haven't really ended with a prayer, I don't think. Maybe we have, and see, I'm just forgetful. But I'd like to thank all of you, because the scriptures and the sages say that when two or more are gathered in God, that's when the power is even released more and happening. And so here we are, Mother, Father, God, Supreme, One, divine consciousness that is, we thank you for loving us and drawing us unto you and calling us, and for us to consciously make the choice to turn to you, to look to you, to want to know you, to want to be your friend. You are so amazing, and one with us, we are so amazing. You teach us that your strength is our strength. Your love is our love. Your wisdom is our wisdom. Our health is your health, is your power, is your presence with us. You lift us high above all the fears, all the memories of our past. You lift us high above all the fears of the future. You bring our consciousness and awareness into the oneness that is, into the Christ consciousness that is the one life, the one love, the one truth, the one presence, the one body, the one mind. You lift us into security. You are our eternal, unlimited, limitless defense and prosperity. You are the all in all. And we thank you dearly. And we thank you for your demonstrating your powers as our powers through us, for us. For you work with us and through us as us to accomplish all that we are to accomplish today. Thy grace is mighty and strong. Thy love is eternal. And we thank you. We love you back. Amen. Yeah.